formative assessment yesterday. Well, let me talk about the double this step. Double this step. Did you get better?
Yes.
Okay. Is that performance or learning? Performance. We have you do it tomorrow, and you're better than you were when you started today. Then we would have evidence of learning. Okay, so yesterday we did a formative assessment. Is that evidence of performance or learning?
I'm sorry, say it again.
We had a formative assessment yesterday. Yes. Was that evidence of performance or learning? When are we going to know? Not all of you had it. We don't know yet. We don't know yet. So very nice, Belinda. You're absolutely right. Some of you had some of those last year, but not all of them. Every year we start with a pre-assessment that shows us where you are at the start of the learning experiences that we are doing with all of you this week. And our goal, and it's part of our vision and our mission with subject matter projects, is to show an increase in teacher participant content knowledge. So we do a pre-assessment, we do a post-assessment, we compare the pre and the post. So the pre takes into account what you had last year. That's what the reason of the pre is. It takes into account what you had last year. On Friday we'll do the post. And if there's a difference from the pre and post, then we will conclude that learning occurred during this week. No? Learning is learning. It's like learning the wrong movement. Learning is a change. That's all learning is defined as. Now, we will have to interpret what the change means. We are expecting that the change, an increase will happen. That will be good evidence for us of the type of learning that comes through this institution. Okay, but yesterday was a formative assessment. Formative assessment. What were we assessing? Your content knowledge at the end of the day yesterday. Okay? Now, what do I need to show on those same questions to show that there was learning? Say you got better yesterday compared to the pre-assessment day. So you got better yesterday. But what do I need to show by the end of this institute? What if you got better yesterday and then by Friday with the exact same questions you do worse? Guess what? No learning. No learning. Well, I'm going to go somewhere, so just hang on to your questions. Excellent.
No, so that was the point. There's no learning.
If you get it by Friday and you don't do as well as you did yesterday on this, there's no learning. There's no learning. Okay, so an interesting thing came up in our teacher leader debriefs from the fast foods yesterday. I'm not sure if it was a comment that came from the fast food, but it's part of our discussion. Was, well, why do students, does anybody want results? Why do you want your results of yesterday's formative assessment? No. Why do you want, not why I want the results. That's a different. Why do you want the results? Okay, now if you know you were right, what are you going to do?
Then I'm going to feel good about that. I learned that concept, got it down.
And what are you going to do today? Where are you going to focus your activity on? If you have 12 and 9 were right and 3 were wrong.
More on the 3 that were wrong. Yeah.
But if yesterday was performance, and you do less deliberate practice because you got some feedback that you got it right, what would likely happen on Friday? So getting the information, I want you to understand this. The reason why I'm not giving you back results, I will give back group results in a second here, but I'm not giving you individual results, is I don't want you to put any more emphasis on one question than another for the rest of this week. I don't want to do it. Because If you start saying, oh, I'm only going to focus on the ones I missed, then you won't do deliberate practice on the ones you know. And I have no guarantee that just because you got it right yesterday that you know it. That was just a performance. That was just a performance. Does that make sense? Let me show you. And I want you to know this. You all did, as a group, you did quite well yesterday. So I'm not setting this up because the results were too low. My concern was that you'll look at these and go, oh, we got this.
So when does feedback to students become critical?
I will be giving you feedback. It's just a different kind of feedback than you're used to, which was what we just talked about is, do you break the habits of what you've always done? I'm going to give you feedback. You're going to see a lot of feedback. It's just not going to be individual feedback. Okay? I'm going to keep giving you the questions. I told you I was going to do that. I will give you a copy of what I'm going to post up there. I'm going to do it during the break because I don't want to use my time handing things out. And I am trying to stay on task here. Yes.
This kind of goes against the whole premise of the standard-based instruction. I'm thinking we just kind of reteach what our students don't know because we always move on. So if we're just reteaching what our students didn't get, then we have to still keep it infusing what they already got and reteaching what they didn't also get.
You always have to. I'm changing my class this fall. I'm teaching physical movements which have common biomechanical principles. So I get to teach the same principle over and over and over again so that by the time they end the semester, they will have heard about torques 4 times, not 1 time.
Can I just interrupt you real quick? So yesterday, the questions that I put up on that you answered and I said yes or no and I gave you the answer are actually almost exactly the same questions, but reworded so the answer is the question. So even though we can't give you the answers exactly to the test, but when you pay attention today, like right before lunch, we'll have another quiz. That quiz is pretty much Jim's test rewritten, and so you can get from that if you pay attention today. I didn't do a very good job explaining that yesterday, but that's where you'll get your answers. So you'll know, oh, I really missed those questions on. Today we're doing stages of learning. I really didn't get that verbal cognitive today, so when we do those small group learning, I really need to pay attention there. And then hopefully that happens before the slug group, so hopefully the questions will be easier for Jim.
So
Yeah.
clarification, the feedback that you're going to be giving today is going to be group feedback.
Yes.
And is it?
Let me show you.
Okay.
Let me show you.
It's kind of less intimidating.
Yeah, isn't it?
Yes, because the research says that.
Okay, so look at the numbers. Go ahead. There were 12 questions. Remember I told you the first 4? Definition. Definition. 83%, 64, 77, 67. Okay. What's the next group of 4? Characteristics. Characteristics. 41, 77, 45, 70. A little bit lower. Well, somewhere in the 40s. And the third group? The third is application. I like this. 41, 16, 100. 65. You'll get it. You'll get it. I'm not going to go over the questions. You can look at the question. Come and talk with us. But now, this says to me, if I don't give you back your specific feedback, everybody has at least 11 questions that you need to be studying. Because you don't know whether you were the one in the percentage that got it right or not. Number 11, I guess you don't need to study. I don't know. We'll find out. But I can't do anything about that. You all got it right. So there must have been something about that question, and I'm going to take a look at that question and see.
Maybe tweak it.
Or we did a really great job. I'm going to give teacher leaders and myself credit. We did a really great job. Okay? Looking at this, now is where I get the feedback. If we were to, in a classroom situation, we're going to keep moving on here in the institute. In a classroom situation, I'd probably look at question number 10. This is reflective now. Question number 10. My first answer is not that you didn't learn it or you didn't do well. It's why? Why 10? What I do first, I go look at the questions. Did I write a question that just confused all of you? Then who's the result on? Me. Now, if I go back and look at the question, And I go, no, they should have gotten that. Still on me.
Yeah, because we didn't get it.
Yeah, you didn't get it. So do you see why I don't want you to see that? Because you all would have gotten that one wrong. And I'll be honest with you, no one got 100%. No one got 0. Correct. No one, you're all in that range there somewhere. But do you think it'd have a motivational impact if you were at 80% right versus 20% right? I don't want that. I do not want that. I don't want, I'm sorry, I'm going to say this, but I really don't care about the positive motivational affect. I really don't. I'm more concerned about what would the negative motivational affect be. So, and I tell this to my students, if you're an A student, you're going to get an A. You're going to have to work hard, but you know what? I'm building the class to the students that are struggling. Again, you give back this feedback, and my biggest concern is the negative impact it will have.
Yeah, well, like for me, when I look at something, if I got it wrong, I'm looking to see why.
And you can still do why without knowing specifically. Because, and I agree with you, we want that kind of idea, but you can still get it. Well, I only know that I did get number 11. That's what I got out of this. So you can still ask the why, but I'm going to give you the question so that it'll focus what your whys are. Okay? Can you use your memory to remember what questions you might have struggled with? You haven't forgotten the ones that you thought. Okay. Could that lead, if we have a slug group here that is covering one of these concepts? We're not today, but if we had set up where we would bring the slug groups back from yesterday?
Oh, we are here.
Oh, we are? Okay. Yep. So will that help you? You'll look at those questions. Oh, I need more information on motor learning. I'm going to go to the slug group on motor learning and performance.
Jim, clarification,
Yeah.
slug groups are the small learning groups that we did at the end of the day.
Small learning group.
SLG.
Sorry. Was that our turn?
Yes.
So if you hear us talking about slug groups, you know we're not talking about you. I know. I'm answering questions. Okay?
I'm looking at it.
I'm trying to. I'm not going to cut it off. So, do you understand? Well, I'll hand those out. And you can take a look, go to your slug groups, come see me, available breaks, lunch. Use this as information to focus your mind. All right, the model. Some people have asked about the model. And I didn't go over it in minute detail. Yesterday I'm going to go go through around the loop, what the model means. Input. Every bit of information you get prior to doing the movement. It can be something someone tells you, it's something you can see, something you can hear, something you can feel, anything that could affect the movement. Selective attention is not on the model. Selective attention is the arrow that connects input to stimulus ID. You can only ID things that you are attending to. If you're not attending to it, it doesn't matter. You will never ID it. So, if you're texting on your phone, that's what you're attending to, and you're sitting at a stoplight, you will miss it turning to green. Does that make sense? Selective attention. I am texting. I cannot therefore ID the relevant stimulus that I'm supposed to be attending to, which is when it turns green, unless I want the guy behind me honking and flipping me off. Okay? All right, but that's the idea. Selective attention says this is what I'm going to narrow it to, but if I attend to the wrong things, I'm going to miss possibly the relevant stimulus ID. Stimulus ID, in my area that I've selectively attended to, I'm trying to find the most important factors. Visual, auditory, feeling, thoughts, any of those. And I'm trying to identify the relevant. That's stimulus ID. So I identified that the light turns green. Now I'm using a car example because you can all do this when you're driving home today. That's why I'm doing this. But I want you, as a learning experience, your part of this is, so how would it work in the movement that I want to teach? Because I can't talk about every single movement that you would want to So I'm giving you a common situation. Your part of this is try to apply it to what you want to teach and then come and see me. You have questions? So we're driving, turns green. You have to select a response. Response selection. Okay, go. Now red's different. You're driving. I mean, green's different. You're driving and it turns yellow. Go faster. What about if you say go faster and the person in front of you says go slower? Yeah. Okay. So is there a possibility? There, you have two responses when it's green and it turns to yellow, and we have potential for conflict. But you have responses. So in baseball, I'm watching the ball come to me. What do I have to do? I have to identify spin, speed, location, and I go swing or not swing, or you ever wonder why people don't swing at things that look like there are strikes? Because by the time they identify what they needed to, too late. Reaction time's over. Ball's in the net. Okay? So what does learning help us do? It's doing each of these processes faster. Yeah. Okay, response programming. You've made a selection. I'm going to push down on the gas pedal. Well, how hard are you going to push down on it? You have the people that go, they want to save fuel, so nice slow acceleration. And you have the people that are in a hurry. Wham! You end up at the next stoplight together. And you go, I save fuel, and they didn't, but we're still together. Okay? But you have to make you made a decision that you needed to push down on the gas, but you have other decisions to make about that particular response. How much of it could be left or right, up or down, fast or slow, all sorts of things that you make decisions. That's what happens in response programming. You've selected a program, you are putting characteristics of the program, and you send out a final motor program to your body. And that's the connection from brain to muscle. Yes?
The question is that you hear in baseball, oh, they must have been looking for something else. Are they predetermining the input? So if they don't see it, they don't swing, even though it looks like it's down.
You got it.
Okay.
You got it. Yep. If you didn't, come and see me. All right, movement. So that's the last thing. But remember, all up to this point is everything's in your head. And the movement is just, if the brain did something wrong, the body is going to do something wrong. The body isn't changing anything. The body is not changing anything. That's why I say motor learning is in the brain. Okay? Now, you finish the movement? Feedback, which we talked about. Feedback. You're comparing what you wanted to accomplish to what you actually accomplished. You want to compare what you were trying to what you actually did. If there's an error, what should you do? What if you did not accomplish what you planned to accomplish? Tells you to change it. Do something new. Think about it. Think about it. What if it says you did accomplish it? Could you still think about it?
Yeah.
Think about repeating it. And replicate it. Okay? Back up to the top, new input, start it all over next project. That's how the model works. Learning is going through the loop over. Performance is going through the loop once. Performance is checking movement over time. But learning happens by going through the loop as many times as possible with deliberate practice.
I'm wondering, we've been talking about the motor learning model interchangeably with learning in general. So I'm wondering, is this based off of like brain research? So are students learning different things besides the motor part? Is this the same thing? Interchangeable?
Perfect, yes. Learning is learning. It's all in the brain. Okay. Come and see me at break. Okay? Learning. Is this model specific only to motor learning? And the answer is it's specific in the term of the word movement at the bottom. The body. What if it's checking off or if it's solving a math problem? All the brain stuff is still the same. You have to identify relevant. You get to select well, you're going to solve it. You have to do it. Get a result. Compare the result to the desired outcome. If there's an error, change. No error, do it again. Same idea. Good point. That's why I say learning, motor learning, learning.
So you said that when you're learning, you go through these many times and deliver practice. But what did you say for if it was just performance?
Then you go through once, and every time you go through, there's nothing deliberate about it. That's performance. Now, the deliberate goes over to that long-term memory. If you're just performing, the box to the side there that says short-term memory to long-term memory, nothing gets stored. That's just a performance. That's an activity. A learning experience makes the connection to long-term memory. Now, I said a learning experience is an interaction between an instructor, a teacher, and a student learner. I made an assumption that you would understand that that means you are designing deliberate practice ideas. The student is doing those activities with the goal of trying to get better, and then you two are working collaboratively to change learning experiences to do more deliberate practice. So there was kind of an underlying thing that I didn't express to you yesterday. A learning experience is an interaction between an instructor and a learner that uses the things we asked you to look at yesterday. Deliberate practice. Left out a little bit. Keep elaborating on it as the week goes on. Okay. Yeah.
What about that question or something about achieving a standard? Was that anything in standard-based instruction? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So just to clarify real quick, stimulus ID is when you're identifying the most important factors from the input.
That you're currently attending to.
That you're currently attending to, and the response selection is once you identify those factors, how you can respond to those factors.
Correct. The words try to hit, the labels try to help you. ID, stimuli. Select, response. Try to help you. The one that's confusing one is the response program. You've selected a response, but you need to program it a little bit for this relevant information.
Okay.
That make sense?
Yep.
More questions?
Wait, say that one more time.
Come and see me at the break or lunch, and I will elaborate a little more.
Okay.
Okay? All right. Today, as an introduction to what's today's content, verbal cognitive stage, motor stage, autonomous stage. We're going to be talking about stages of learning. I'm not going to go over the details. That's what we've designed learning experiences for you to get this. But the stages of learning can be age-related. Younger, yeah, but they can also be experience level. Same group of people, same age, but you have new learners, intermediate learners, advanced learners. So keep that in mind as you're thinking about this. This is not just about age only, but it's about experience. Stages of learning are both. Okay. We're going to give you characteristics, so think about it. You're going to have a definition of each stage. There's going to be a question related to definition. There's going to be characteristics about each stage. You're going to have questions about characteristics. And then there's going to be application of each stage. So as you're going through the learning experiences, I'm interacting with you. I'm the teacher instructor. You are the student learners. I'm giving you some guidance, what to focus on as you go through today's learning experiences. Focus on, first, do I understand the definition? Now I understand the definition of verbal cognitive stage. What are the characteristics of a verbal cognitive learning? Finally, how does practice fit with these stages? That's applied. Think about it, that's applied. The applied in this institute is applying practice schedules to learning. Would that change based on the stage of learning that they're in? And if you do that, we'll have slowdowns related to that later today. Did I clarify that? We're going to have assessments along the way to try to assess that. You can ask me, come and have lunch with me, and I will try to answer you. So any quick questions right now? I got 3 minutes.
Hey Jim, these little books right here, which
Yes.
I think are great, should we possibly be saying, breaking it down into definition, characteristics, application, and then we can fill that in for
Great, Rita. Did everybody hear that? The booklets that you have, right? provide information about definitions. They are really good for definitions and characteristics. They'll really help you with that. Application, you can fill that in right next to it. Say, oh, I did a learning experience, that had to do with practicing at the verbal cognitive stage. Here's what I would do. Now, one other thing I started saying this last week in Long Beach, and I'm trying to do that everywhere I talk now, is we don't do activities. We don't do it. We do learning experiences. And I make a distinction. An activity just goes through that loop with no deliberate practice. That's how I'm defining it. I don't think you'll find that. I don't think you'll find that anywhere else. I'm trying to incorporate that into what we, as subject matter projects, is doing. Okay. So learning experience is what we do. Activities is what everybody else does. Okay. Part of our vision and mission, we want learning experiences. We want to bring other people in and do learning experiences with us. But in terms of leadership and demonstrating to all those people that watch you, if they see learning experiences rather than rolling out the balls and letting kids kick and run and jump, if they see that, what do you think? If university people saw that you were doing learning experiences in physical education, then maybe universities would say, well, valuable, let's put that in part of the GPA that we accept. I'm going to give credit. Carla gave me that idea. I'm going to give her credit. Universities, if they don't see that there's any learning going on, they're not going to get the value. So if the traditional way of doing physical education is roll out the balls and let them just play, can you see from our standpoint, what does an A in that mean? Well, if you can convince us, if you can convince us that they're getting content in physical education, then we're more likely to say, include that in their GPA. So I hope that I tried to bring a lot of things together. If I went too fast, and I'm a very fast talker, I know that. If I talk too fast, come and see me. I'm here all day. All right, 10:05, it's break time. Oh, that one, I still have 3 minutes. Do you want to ask questions? Okay, let's ask questions now. Do I have 3 minutes? Okay. Experience.
So Jim, can you go over the 3 stages, just name them off?
Okay, yeah. Verbal cognitive is the first stage. Whether it's first because you're young or first because it's new. Verbal cognitive, you're talking to yourself about critical elements. You're talking to yourself about, and you've all done this. I still do it with my golf games. My right elbow needs to stay close to my body. My right elbow needs to stay close to my body. I'm doing the movement and talking to myself at the same time. Thus, verbal cognitive. Self-talk, out loud talk, about what's going on in my brain. Second stage, motor stage. Less verbal talk. More, I've gotten the idea down. I want to try to, I'm in the point of, when I hit the comparator, I'm getting a lot more, I'm doing the right thing. So in motor stage, I'm trying to reinforce the right things. I guess I'm more motor stage at this point. I know what I need to do. I'm trying to reinforce the things that I do correctly and avoid the things that I don't. Motor stage. Final is autonomous stage. Don't think, do. Now, the biggest problem is, what if what you learned led to the wrong way to do it? But you're at the autonomous stage. You've got to go back. Why do we have to do novel tasks here? Like non-dominant. Why is non-dominant actually a great way for you to think about your lesson? Non-dominant puts you back into verbal cognitive. And where are most of your learners? Verbal cognitive, some motor, very few autonomous. Where might you be in some of the things you teach? You might be, depending on your experiences, some of you may be verbal cognitive yourself. But If you're teaching something you truly love, you're motor to autonomous. And if you're teaching, trying to teach to yourself, you're teaching concepts that are just over-verbal cognitive. So just try it. Try doing it non-dominant. See what the difficulties are and how you would explain it to yourself to fix those. And the easiest one to do, try throwing. And then you'll find out it's not throwing like a girl, it's throwing like a verbal cognitive learner. Okay. Yes. Break time.